Bing Crosby as Columbo? It almost happened. The iconic entertainer is way more than just the White Christmas guy. Keep watching for the truth about the legendary crooner. Having a memorable, unique, musically evocative name probably didn't hurt Bing Crosby on his march to worldwide success, fame, and fortune. However, that first name isn't one his parents gave him. Born Harry Lillis Crosby outside of Seattle in 1903, he was raised on the other side of Washington State in Spokane, where as a boy, he and a friend in his neighborhood were big fans of a comic strip called the Bingville Bugle, according to the Daily Chronicle. That evolved into a nickname, with the friend calling young Crosby Bingo from Bingville, which was eventually truncated into just Bing, which stuck. Bing Crosby's most enduring contribution to popular culture was the song White Christmas, written by Irving Berlin. Crosby's son Nathaniel told Billboard, his identity with Christmas was a strategy. He recorded songs that were basically intended to last forever.
It's kind of corny, but it's true.
Crosby made his first version of White Christmas in May 1942, and it was released that summer on the soundtrack for the singer's movie Holiday Inn, but took off that Christmas.
You know, I've written special music for each holiday. This sort of gives me a chance to keep a little promise I made to myself. I said I was going to sing this song at the end tonight.
The narrator's melancholic and nostalgic wish for a holiday just like the one he used to know allegorically expressed the pain of separation felt by millions of American troops and their families separated by World War II. White Christmas spent 11 weeks at number 1 on the pop chart, won the Academy Award for Best Original Song, and returned to number 1 around Christmas in 1943 and 1944. And it would become a hit again when Crosby would star in a movie called White Christmas in 1954. However, the version heard today likely isn't the original version from 1942. According to the Library of Congress, the song's original masters got worn out from being pressed so much to meet demand. White Christmas makes multiple appearances in Guinness World Records, ranking as the all-time best-selling Christmas song, single by a male artist, and single of any kind. Around the world, and accounting for all the different ways music can be consumed, Crosby's version of White Christmas has been purchased more than 100 million times. Bing Crosby is remembered well into the 21st century, still a household name more than 40 years after his death, but by and large, he's associated primarily with Christmas pop culture. His signature recordings of holiday standards like White Christmas and It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas are the ones that still get airplay today. But these represent just a tiny portion of Crosby's extremely voluminous and successful musical output. Crosby recorded more than 2,000 songs during his career, and many of them were hits. Altogether, Crosby charted 396 times, and 203 of them went top 10. Nobody in American music history scored more number 1 hits. He topped the pop chart 43 times, more than the Beatles and Elvis Presley put together, spending a total of 173 weeks at number 1. Among the standards that Crosby popularized, Brother, Can You Spare a Dime, Pennies from Heaven, and Swinging on a Star. Crosby was so popular and had so many familiar songs that in 1948, according to Music Digest, half of all the radio airplay used on recorded music was used to play his tunes. By the end of his life, Crosby sold nearly 1 billion pieces of music and had sung on 13 Oscar-nominated songs as well. Bing Crosby laid the groundwork for a career path taken by so many musicians in recent decades. Because not only was Bing Crosby a recording star of unparalleled achievement, he was also one of the biggest movie stars in Hollywood history.
Ba, 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 ba. Now we hit them all together and we got a nice chord.
According to Quigley's Motion Picture Almanac, Crosby rated among the 10 highest-grossing actors in the movie industry on 15 different occasions, in a period spanning from 1934 to 1954. From 1944 to 1948, 5 straight years, Crosby ranked number 1 on that list. Among Crosby's big movie hits, Holiday Inn, White Christmas, 7 road movies with fellow draw Bob Hope, and Going My Way. His role as progressive priest Father Chuck O'Malley won Crosby the Academy Award for Best Actor. He'd be nominated in that category a year later for The Bells of St. Mary's, a sequel to Going My Way, making Crosby the first actor to be recognized by the Oscars more than once for the same role. Bing Crosby was highly successful in the avenues of recorded music, film, and radio, and he parlayed some of the huge fortune those fields afforded him into other forms of entertainment. He was a big financial backer in the horse racing world. According to Pass the Wire, Crosby bought his first racehorse early in his singing career in 1935. Just 2 years later, he helped found the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club and would serve on its board of directors as its Del Mar racetrack grew into one of horse racing's biggest venues. With club co-creator and friend Lindsay Howard, Crosby also co-founded Bingling Stable, which had operations in the US and Argentina to breed and export horses around the world. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Crosby played semi-pro baseball as a young man, and that enduring love of the game manifested as a $2.25 million buy-in for a 25% stake of the Pittsburgh Pirates in 1946. The biggest moment in Crosby's tenure, the Pirates played in the 1960 World Series, which they stretched to a 7th and decisive game. Crosby, who had a knack for attending games that the Pirates lost, considered himself something of a curse on the team, so he skipped Game 7 and asked an employee to make a kinescope recording of the game. The Pirates won with a home run at the very end of what's been nicknamed the best game ever, and no recordings of the full telecast of the game were thought to have survived, until 2010 when that well-preserved kinescope was found in the wine cellar of Crosby's old estate. Bing Crosby was almost as prolific of an actor as he was a musician. Between 1930 and his death in the mid-1970s, he amassed more than 100 acting credits, moving from bit player to big-time movie star to central figure of his own sitcom. Crosby didn't do much scripted work by the 1970s when he was in his 70s, showing up in a couple of made-for-TV movies and on Laugh-In a few times. According to MeTV, around that time, William Link and Richard Levinson adapted their stage play Prescription Murder about a quirky detective named Columbo into a recurring TV series. They wanted seasoned character actor Lee J. Cobb to star, but since he was unavailable, Link and Levinson pursued Crosby. He passed on starring on the show, renamed Columbo, because he considered himself semi-retired, and he was content to spend his days playing as much golf as possible. Peter Falk, of course, went on to play the iconic detective. Crosby was willing to make one exception for a big late-career project. Between 1940 and 1962, Crosby made 7 road pictures with another mid-century superstar, Bob Hope.
Well, I stood in the wings once.
Did he have a good act?
No, it was awful.
Each time they played different characters, but always the same type. Hope's man was nervous and weak, Crosby's charming and calculating, fueling their wild road trips. According to PBS, Hope and Crosby had plans to make one more road movie in 1977, The Road to the Fountain of Youth. Crosby died during the early stages of pre-production, and so it was never made. According to Bleacher Report, Bing Crosby was a near-expert golfer by 1937 and a frequent presence on the links at Lakeside Golf Club in Burbank, California. That year, Crosby decided to take his game to the next level, starting a tournament called the Clambake at California's Rancho Santa Fe Golf Club. Also informally known as the Crosby, it was the prototype for the Pro-Am format, in which professional golfers would compete in twosomes with a celebrity golfer and then everybody would party and mingle at a Clambake. That weekend-long pal-around evolved into the Bing Crosby National Pro-Am, a PGA-sanctioned event. In the mid-1940s, Crosby starred on Philco Radio Time for ABC Radio. Using cutting-edge magnetic tape technology from Ampex, Crosby liked to have multiple takes and edit scenes to make for a perfect radio show, and tape made that practical and affordable. And he could also record the show whenever he wanted, working around his tee times. Philco Radio Time became the first tape-delayed broadcast in American history. Crosby died doing what he loved. On October 14, 1977, he played a round of 18 holes at a golf course outside of Madrid, Spain. After the game, which he won, he suffered a heart attack and fell onto a brick pathway. Crosby was taken to a hospital where he was pronounced dead on arrival. A Canadian tuxedo is when someone wears a jean shirt or denim jacket with jeans. Levi's, the denim pioneer, credits legendary entertainer Bing Crosby with the invention of this head-to-toe sartorial innovation, even though he was born and raised in the United States. According to A Short History of Denim by Levi's company historian Lynn Downey, Crosby and a friend ventured up to Canada for a hunting trip in 1951. During the jaunt, they attempted to check into an upscale hotel in Vancouver but were denied service. The reason? Crosby and his associate were dressed for hunting, meaning they were wearing Levi's branded jeans and thus weren't appropriate for a nice hotel. When Levi's heard about the unfortunate incident, it commissioned a bespoke tuxedo jacket for Crosby made entirely out of denim, and even presented it to him in a public ceremony in Nevada. For the 1977 TV special Bing Crosby's Merry Old Christmas, the old-school crooner agreed to sing with David Bowie, a vanguard of rock music. According to Newsweek, their respective families convinced both singers that a duet was a good idea. Bowie's mother was a huge Crosby fan and insisted he do it, while Crosby's children wanted their father to perform with one of their favorite rock stars.
Do you like modern music? Oh, I think it's marvelous.
Crosby and Bowie taped their segment on September 11, 1977, with the latter showing up in makeup, jewelry, and dyed hair, which shocked the former so much that he almost called the whole thing off. Crosby's son Nathaniel said, "It almost didn't happen. The producers told him to take the lipstick off and the earring out. Bowie agreed, but then didn't like the song selection. A duet to the understated Christmas carol The Little Drummer Boy. Writers Ian Fraser, Buzz Cohen, and Larry Grossman scrambled to come up with something new, creating Peace on Earth, a new song built to showcase Bowie's soaring voice blended into The Little Drummer Boy sung by Crosby as a counterpoint. All of that tension dissipated when the two singers began to perform. The song would go on to hit number 3 in the UK pop chart after being featured in the special, which aired on TV mere weeks after Crosby's death. Eminently likable and affecting a charming, laid-back demeanor, Bing Crosby was one of the most widely liked celebrities on the planet for nearly half of the 20th century. Only after his death in 1977 did the allegedly dark and violent side of Crosby emerge.
Certainly, just being your dad's son is good for you because he's one of the most lovable men in the country.
In 1983, Gary Crosby published Going My Own Way, a memoir of his harrowing childhood. Nicknamed Bucket Butt by his father, the younger Crosby had a weight issue as a child, and he was subject to weekly weigh-ins. If the number on the scale went up, he reported to his father's office for a beating. That abuse was also a regular occurrence. Gary alleged, "My father would come home at 6 o'clock, and by 6:05 he'd heard the news of what I'd done. Then I'd get bent over and my pants taken down and beat till I bled." Nevertheless, the Crosby kids were required to eat everything on their plates or suffer the consequences. Gary recalled a time when brother Philip hid uneaten bacon and eggs under a rug, and when it was discovered after some time, their father made Philip eat it, dirt, hairs, and all. Gary's siblings affirmed the memoir's contents, with his brother Lindsay saying, quote, "I hope it clears up a lot of the old lies." His brother Philip, meanwhile, called Gary a crybaby, but said that he, quote, "was happy to be who I was, even if I had the hell kicked out of me." If you or someone you know may be the victim of child abuse, please contact the Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline at 1-800-4A-CHILD, 1-800-422-4453, or contact their live chat services.